The distributive property. What is the distributive property? We will be introducing this distributive property when we consider expressions of different forms. There are two main rules. So let me bring an expression for us to use the rules so that we can see it. So consider that you have 3 bracket 4 plus 5 close bracket. How do we use the distributive property to solve such problem? Okay, there are two methods. So let's look at method 1. Method 1. Okay, the rules for the order of operation. So the method 1 is simply the rules for the order of operations. Well, in other words, PEMDAS. Okay, so that's the rule 1. Now this doesn't mean that you have to remember this rule as being number 1. This could be considered as rule number 2. We're just giving it a rule 1 as to say, to keep a label on them, just as to say that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 amount of rules. So how does this rule here work? Well, let's bring the problem here and see how we solve it by using this particular rule. In this rule, we will perform the addition within the parentheses first, as how PEMDAS says, parentheses first. So we need to work whatever's inside of the parentheses. So you put here 3 close bracket 9, because 4 plus 9, now 4 plus 5 gives us 9, and 3 times 9 gives us 27. So we then do them outside 1, perform the multiplication afterwards. So that's rule 1, applying the order of operation, or simply PEMDAS. Very basic, we have been doing that before. Rule 2 or method 2. Okay, the distributive property, we will apply the distributive property, and as it shows, this is the main topic for this video here, the distributive property, what we will be using. So let me bring back that same problem again, and we should get back the same solution. Okay, so we do that. So by applying the distributive property, this is what you will do: 3 times 4, 3 times 5. So we end up now 3 times 4. This operation, you will put it here. So if this was minus, you're going to put here minus, or in other words, subtraction or difference. 3 times 5. 3 times 4 is going to give me 12, plus 3 times 5 is going to give me 15. 15 and 12 is going to give me 27. So I end up with the same solution as the previous one. Therefore, we can notice that each method gives the same result. It doesn't make any difference which method you use, so long as you follow the rules that pertain to a particular method, you should end up with the same solution regardless of what is it. So let me write the distributive property below. Okay, the law. So here it is. Distributive property. Algebraically, you can say for any real numbers a, b, and c, and we put here a, b plus c equals a times b plus a times c. That's all what that means. Okay, distributive property. And if this was minus, it applies the same thing. So if we had a, b minus c, this would be a times b minus a times c. Okay, so this is how you will be working these problems here from now on. All right, and that is for the distributive property. Now in here, this is just the basic. This could have been negatives, fractions. You apply the same rule, multiply them across. So that should not be nothing new. We have been multiplying fractions before, so we need to bring in those rules here. So if I had a fraction here, we would be multiplying by that particular fraction for us to proceed. Nevertheless, let's see what happens if we have one with fractions. So I'm just going to give one with fractions to close up this particular topic. So consider that I have now and I tell you multiply. This is just an example. And I tell you 3 quarter, all right, 12x minus 20, right? So we will be multiplying this out. Either method 1 or method 2. 3/4 times 12x minus 3/4 times 20. The 4 and the 12 could cancel out, give me 3 here. 3 times 3, 9x, right? You could have shown here now 3 times 3 as before, and that would still work. 4 into 12 into 20 gives me 5. 5 times 3 gives me 15, and this is your simplified part or the multiplication of that algebraic expression. So that is how you will be doing this particular topic here. All right. The signs are very important for you to take note of it. Okay, so consider that I give you a problem now, right? So let me give you a few more problems. I have to use a different sheet now. I come here and I tell you to simplify. So simplify, and the problem states minus bracket negative 3 minus 4a. How do I simplify that? What are the key points here? Well, we will be using the distributive property to multiply each term within the parentheses by -1. Wait a minute, where is that -1? That -1 is right in front here. The mere fact you have a negative means that there's a -1. So you put here -1 times -3 minus -1 times 4a. This now gives me 3 and here plus 4a, and that is your simplified. But you need to take note of this negative sign. Very, very important. That's a common mistake that students will tend to do. All right, let's try another one. Multiply, and when we multiply, we now have, say, 3x plus 6 close bracket times 1/3. How do we solve that? Well, don't worry if it's at the back or at the front. Usually this is at the front here. Nevertheless, we can still solve it. We can put 1/3, right? We can put the term in first, so we can say 3x times 1/3, this sign here now, plus 6 times 1/3. The 3 and 3 cancel, giving us x, plus 3 into 6 gives me 2, and that is the solution for multiplying that particular algebraic expression. Okay, and this brings us to what we call the extended distributive property. All right, so let me write out the extended distributive property in abstract form. So the extended, right, distributive property. The extended distributive property is simply as follows. You can have a, b plus c plus d, and when we multiply this out, we'll end up with ab plus ac plus ad. And if these were negative signs, let's see what would happen. A, b minus c minus d. Our solution would be ab minus ac minus ad. Okay, that is the extended property of the extended distributive property. So let's see some examples of the extended distributive property now. Okay, so I'm going to have to multiply, and you will be multiplying, and this may be as a whole number, and I'm going to use now -2 open bracket 3x minus 5 y plus 2. Okay, notice what we have here. We have different terms. Okay, that's why we call it extended distributive property. You are extending it a little bit more, the rules. So how do we work this out? Well, we put it here, -2 times 3x close bracket, in this minus, and then put -2 this term times 5y, not -5y because you have already taken the negative here at the front, and then plus -2 times, okay, 2, which is this 2 here. So we apply the rules from before. You can combine -2 times 3, so that would be -2 times 3, show a bigger bracket, x minus, well, this next and this 2 negative will make it a positive, and we put 2 times 5y. This -2 times 2 will give me -4. This gives me -6 x. Here we get plus 10y minus 4, and so we get the solution for that particular problem. Okay, so it's not that difficult so long as we apply the rules. Okay, so that's for multiplying using the extended property.